This is Hawaii, a paradise island in the heart of the Pacific, where people once believed war could never reach. But on the calm morning of December 7th, 1941, that illusion was shattered forever. At Pearl Harbor, America's largest naval base in the Pacific, thousands of soldiers were still asleep, unaware that, above the horizon, an approaching fleet of aircraft was bringing a nightmare that would ignite the world. Japan believed that one decisive strike against Pearl Harbor could cripple the United States and secure its dominance across the Pacific. Yet behind that decision lay years of tension, ambition, and desperation. Once close allies in World War I, the U.S. and Japan had drifted apart as Japan expanded its empire. Invading China, signing the Tripartite Pact with Germany and Italy, and seizing French Indochina. In response, Washington imposed a total oil embargo in 1941, a move that struck Japan's lifeline. Without fuel, the empire faced collapse, and so, in a desperate bid for survival, Japan chose its path. Strike first, before being strangled by the noose. Once the order was given, Japan began preparing for one of the boldest operations in modern history. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, the mastermind behind the plan, knew that failure would mean the end of the empire. Every move had to remain a secret. On November 26, 1941, 6 aircraft carriers and over 400 planes departed from the icy seas north of Japan, heading toward Hawaii. The entire fleet sailed in complete radio silence. No signals, no lights, nothing to give them away. Even the pilots themselves didn't know their destination until they were deep in the Pacific. Meanwhile, in Washington, Japanese diplomats continued their so-called peace talks, buying time for the strike force to close in. Every moment was timed perfectly. At 7 a.m., when the Americans were still asleep, the sky above Pearl Harbor would erupt in fire. Yet in those final hours, faint warnings began to surface. Strange signals, radar blips, intercepted messages, but they were ignored. And so, as dawn approached, history inched toward a moment that would change the world forever. As Japan's carriers crept closer through the fog, Pearl Harbor remained calm and unaware. Sailors slept soundly in their quarters. Some woke early for the Sunday flag ceremony. No one imagined they were standing in the eye of history's coming storm. Once considered the steel fortress of the Pacific, the base had grown complacent. At dawn, radar operators spotted unidentified signals. They assumed it was a squadron of returning American bombers. On shore, anti-air defenses were idle. Live ammunition locked away in storage. Everyone believed that if war ever broke out, it would happen somewhere far away, not above their tropical paradise. In Washington, intelligence cables sat unprocessed, their warnings buried in bureaucracy. A sleeping giant, lulled by its own sense of safety. As the sun edged toward the horizon, none of them knew that in just a few hours, the proud ships Arizona, Oklahoma, and West Virginia would vanish beneath the dark waters of Pearl Harbor. Aboard the carrier Akagi, the air was thick with tension. Hundreds of young pilots stood in silence, listening to their final orders before takeoff. They knew this flight might be their last. In the cold Pacific wind, Mitsubishi Zero engines roared to life, shaking the decks. A single flag waved, and the sky erupted with the thunder of more than 180 spinning propellers. Each formation turned south, carrying torpedoes, armor-piercing bombs, and blind faith in their empire. For months they had endured brutal training, learning to release torpedoes from just 10 meters above the sea, to glide low and invisible beneath American radar. That discipline had turned them into machines of terrifying precision. In Tokyo, Admiral Yamamoto followed through coded transmissions, knowing that with every passing minute, Japan edged closer to destiny. Above the northern horizon of Hawaii, 183 planes cut through the clouds, carrying power, pride, and the seeds of their nation's tragedy. At 7:55 a.m., the quiet skies above Oahu suddenly split apart. What began as a faint hum turned into a deafening roar. Engines, hundreds of them, screaming like thunder. Men looked up in confusion, coffee cups still in hand. The morning sun glared off metal wings marked with red circles. In that instant, the peaceful harbor transformed into a war zone. Bombs began to fall. The first explosion tore through Battleship Row, shattering steel and silence alike. The USS Arizona erupted in a fireball that lit the sky, sending black smoke curling into heaven. Within minutes, the pride of the Pacific Fleet was burning. Sailors dove into the oil-covered water. Some swam toward shore, others never resurfaced. The air was filled with screams, fire, and the echo of machine guns strafing the decks. From above, Commander Fuchida watched the chaos unfold and radioed a single message. Message back to the fleet: Tora! 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 Confirming the unthinkable. Total surprise achieved. Below, Pearl Harbor burned. In less than 2 hours, the world had changed forever.